Mr. Charlie Pope, Central High School Principal. Today's show is brought to you by Norris Plumbing, 931-703-5915. Mr. Pope, what's it take to make a great plumber?
Availability.
That's a very good point. And these guys at Norris Plumbing, they're available 24/7. So when you've had the ice and the storms and your pipe freeze, nobody's answering their phone, call Norris Plumbing and they'll answer the phone for you and they'll come out and make it right. 931-703-5915. They do drain cleaning, garbage disposal repair, pipe repair, shower repair. And of course, the interesting thing about that is the word repair. No one wants to repair anything anymore. They want you to buy new. Norris Plumbing, 931-703-5915, or you can email them at norrisplumbing37160@gmail.com. Coach, you got some stuff coming up here, my man. We got the coaches versus cancer, and now you've expanded it. Tell me about it.
Yes, we have. Well, we'll go with the immediate what's happening, and then I'll give you the history. We have 3 events coming up. This coming Friday is the first one, and that's our Coaches versus Cancer event at Community High School. They host, I believe, Forest in basketball Friday night, and they're going to be participating in their first ever Coaches versus Cancer event. And then next Tuesday night, we'll have Coaches versus Cancer at Shelbyville Central High School as we host Spring Hill. And then on February the 9th, that Friday night of next week, a week from this coming Friday night, it'll be Cascade's turn. And Cascade will have Coaches versus Cancer, and I believe it's against Forest as well. And that's going to be their senior night also. So those are the 3 events we've got coming up, and the whole thing started about, well, when I was coaching in college as an assistant coach, we participated in Coaches versus Cancer. It's suits and sneakers versus cancer, and you would see coaches wearing suits on the sideline and tennis shoes. And then when I left college coaching and came to Cascade, we participated in the pink out nights and things of that nature, but it really wasn't full-blown Coaches versus Cancer. And my mother, who played basketball in the 60s, Judy McCarty, at Community, she, that was kind of a family business. My uncles, Andy Adcock and Tommy Adcock, both played at Community in the 60s as well. Pretty good basketball players in their own rights. So basketball was kind of, like I said, the family business. Well, my mother worked in the cafeteria at Cascade because my dad was a minister. And so we would discuss things. She would sit at the 50-yard line across from the bench. And usually when I would come through the next morning through the serving line, she would tell me all the things that she thought we did well, all the things I need to get better at, who played enough and who didn't play enough, who I was too hard on. And it was really kind of neat for a couple of years. And my mom had beaten breast cancer when I was a young boy. And then in my second year at Cascade, she developed liver cancer. And as most of us that have been touched and impacted by cancer, liver cancer is usually not one you come back from.
No.
And so,
or the pancreas.
And yes, exactly. And so that journey with her, those last couple of months of her life were really so impactful on not just me, but my sister and those around us that love my mother. And, I'll share with you a little bit of like I said, just sharing with you the history of the event. I got a stool out of my locker room and I would put it by the serving line, and my mother would come in the mornings and work breakfast. And then my dad would pick her up and take her to Murfreesboro to get chemo. And she would get chemo from about 9 o'clock to about 10:30. And my dad would put her back in the car because she couldn't drive at that point. Because as many of us know, many of our listeners know, and viewers, when you certain chemo, they'll take your driver's license away because it's so strong. He would bring her back and she would work the lunch line, serve lunch from 11 to about 1. He would pick her up and take her home, and she'd sleep from about 2 o'clock in the afternoon until she got up around 4:30 to get ready to be at work at 6, and did that for a couple months. And the last couple of weeks, she got to where she couldn't travel to watch our games. and I would give her the recap, and then that kind of thing. Well, the last week of her life, this was on a Monday. She passed away late on a Wednesday night. That was the first Monday she called in sick. She couldn't come to work, and we all knew it was getting close. Terry Looper was my principal at the time, old basketball coach.
Oh yeah.
He gave me permission to leave during the day.
He coached me.
Well, hey, and Coach Looper was such a
Great guy,
fantastic,
wonderful guy, great coach.
He helped me tremendously during that time. He let me go home. They lived over in Lee Lane.
Right.
My mom and dad did. And so I would go home and give my dad a break. And I came in that on Tuesday. We were supposed to play at Van Buren County. And for those of you watching, those of you that have been, if you've ever been to Spencer, to Van Buren County High School, that's the only bus trip where in the school bus, at the front of the bus, there's parts of the trip where you can see the back of the bus at the same time.
Right.
I mean, it's that curvy.
It is.
And that windy. I didn't want to go because we knew that she was probably not going to make it home. So I go in, I got his blessing to let my assistants go. Well, I go in the house about lunchtime Tuesday, and she's in the bed, and I walk in, and I had some game tape because we were 11th in the state at that point, playing real well. And I had some tape because we were going to play Friday night against Eagle, and they were 6th in the state at that point. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm not going tonight." And she raised up out of the bed, and she said, "Yes, you are." I said, "I didn't raise a quitter." She said, "Those boys need you. You're going." Right. And she said, "I'll be here when you get back." Well, either one of y'all ever won an argument with your mama?
No.
Neither does anybody else. So
no.
I went, I coached. Cindy was pregnant with Addison, our oldest, who's about to graduate high school. And she drove behind the bus in case we got a phone call and I needed to leave. And she passed away late on Wednesday night. And a cool part about this is, and what kind of gave genesis to this whole thing, that Friday night, I hadn't seen my team. My assistants had been practicing them. And I go in the locker room at halftime of the girls' game to deliver the scouting report and talk about what we're going to do. And I walk in, and every one of those guys had gotten permission from TSAA. They had patches made with my mom's name and her, life, 1940, whatever, to 2003. And handed me one to wear on my wrist. It had Velcro, and they had Velcroed them up here on their uniforms. And it was that whole time of what basketball had done for my family that motivated us to start the local chapter of Coaches versus Cancer. And what we did, my dad set this up. What we did is we attack it in two ways. We have a spaghetti dinner, which is what we're hosting. The various high schools now are hosting. The spaghetti dinner, $10 a ticket, goes to a senior. All the funds go to the scholarship. We're blessed to have some corporate donors that cover the cost of the meal at all three high schools. And now there's a scholarship at each one of those schools for a senior that's been impacted by cancer, lost a mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever, or it's going to go into a cancer-related medical field.
Oh, even better. That's a great idea.
Could be a nurse, could be, right, whatever. And that scholarship is presented on their awards day, and I call it a legacy scholarship because, Bill, this, a lot of times tragedies.
Oh, yeah.
Tragedies motivate us, inspire us, move us to do things,
sure,
to fight, whatever. Well, that's a legacy. And, that's one of the things that we're doing with that scholarship. And, we also sell T-shirts, and the T-shirt sales they're split between the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research and the Bedford County Cancer Society. So that way some of the money stays local. And, you know yourself that, you want to take care of home.
Right.
You want to take care of, Bedford County, and that's what we want to do. And so we started at Cascade. Addison was, barely, wasn't even a year old when we started it. So she's 17 now. So we've been doing this 16 years, and we've given over $22,000 in scholarship money just off of people coming and eating a plate of spaghetti. And when you award those scholarships to some of those young people, that right there makes it worth it. And last year, when I got transferred to Sheffield Central, we set one up at Sheffield Central. And last year was the first event at Sheffield Central. And off that night, we gave away 3 $1,000 scholarships. And so then between the Cancer Society and Dr. Garrett, they decided that we needed to do one at community.
Sure.
And I was in the car with Cindy when Dr. Garrett and I talked, and Dr. Garrett said, "Congratulations, you get to help spearhead this." Well, I mean, what do you say? But yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Anything I can do to serve. It is a blessing, man, because I graduated from community in 1990, and it was kind of neat going back this past week to talk to the students, because I didn't walk those halls because that building didn't exist. Right. That was a hay field. I hauled hay in that field.
Right.
But to see those kids and know that, my mom's legacy, just like many people that you guys know, they're people that leave things better than they found it. Mm-hmm. And that was her big thing, was always to take care of young people, impact young people, and try to leave the world better than you found it. And that's what we're trying to do with all these events going on.
Charlie, how do people out here get tickets to any of these events if they want? Who do they call? Where do they get them? Is it a door thing? Can you buy them early?
You can buy dinner tickets. You can walk up to the door and buy dinner tickets, because the goal is to sell out.
Right.
Nothing would make me happier than have the cafeteria ladies go, "Hey, we're out." We've gotten close a few times at Cascade. Last year we got close at Central. We haven't sold one out yet, so there's a little challenge there. If folks want to come out, we'd love it. We start serving at 4:30 at every school. That on those nights we serve at 4:30. There's to-go options. You can get to-go plate. It's spaghetti, green beans, side salad, roll, dessert, and a drink for $10 in this day and age.
Oh yeah.
And when the cafeteria ladies have the ability to cook and turn it loose, hey, it's pretty good food. You can get tickets at the door. Most kids at the 3 high schools have tickets that they're trying to sell.
Okay, good.
T-shirts. There's a Facebook page, Bedford County Coaches versus Cancer. There's one that people can access. I think there's a QR code. Everybody's into QR codes. I think there's a QR code where people can get access to the shirts. And we try to get that out as much as we can. So yeah, there's options. We'd love to see everybody come out, eat with us,
and 3 separate events at 3 schools starting this Friday night.
That's right.
And Tuesdays at Central, and then February the 9th at Cascade, right?
That's right. And if I can add one thing
Sure.
to it, last year the coaches at Central, they didn't do this. This was not Charlie's idea. The coaches at Central, and some of them are doing it this year, they bought shirts for their players and their clubs. But the kids, to get the shirt, had to buy one for somebody that couldn't afford it.
And that's a good idea.
Pay it forward.
Right.
And I think a couple of them are doing it at Cascade. I don't know about community, but because regardless if it's Coaches versus Cancer or if it's against leukemia or polio, whatever it is, we should all try to figure out ways we can be passionate about something.
Right.
And that's the message. The underlying message here, Bill, is that when we talk to the high school kids, get passionate about making a difference in your community. Get passionate about something. It doesn't have to be Coaches versus Cancer.
Right.
Of course, this time of year we want it to be, but maybe it's serving meals at a shelter. Maybe it's being a big brother or big sister to a kid that doesn't have one. Because now we're giving people hope. And all this is about giving hope, because near the end of my mother's life, one of the things that got her through was listening to that Jimmy V speech. Mm-hmm. As well as many of us know, that's an iconic speech.
It sure is.
And if you haven't heard it, if you're watching, if you're listening, you ought to Google Jimmy V's speech, and it won't take, you start typing, it'll pop up, and listen to it, because the words he shared were one of the things that got her through, and it was about giving hope. Because as long as we have hope, we got a chance.
Right.
So, that's really the movement, especially here in Bedford County. That's and I hope one of these days, my wife and Cindy does a lot of the T-shirt stuff. Cindy was Key Club sponsor at Cascade for a long time while we did this together. We hope we can retire this. I mean, I would love for us to not have this event, because that means that we've found a cure for this.
Absolutely.
So,
and a good chance to get out and go to all 3 schools if you can make it. Community Friday night, Tuesday night at Central, and February the 9th at Cascade.
That's right.
Encourage everybody to get out.
That's right.
Today's special edition is brought to you by Norris Plumbing, 931-703-5915. 24/7 availability. And that's something special when it comes to the plumbing business. Drain cleaning, garbage disposal, pipe repair, any kind of repair, anything to do with water, shower repair, they've got it. Norris Plumbing, 931-703-5915, or you can email them at norrisplumbing37160@gmail.com. Well, before we leave, what has the weather done to you guys as far as sports go while you're here? This has to be tough making up these games.
Yeah, the blizzard of 2024, it throws it all into a tailspin. I mean, you reschedule events, you have to guard what time you can practice. You got to make sure the kids are safe. I mean, it's a scheduling nightmare.
I can imagine.
And as an old basketball coach, it drove me crazy, because it gets you out of routine.
Yep.
It gets you out of your rhythm. There were some years where we benefited from it.
Right.
We were struggling. It gives you a chance to reset. But if you've got any momentum at all,
it kills it.
It kills it.
It sure kills it.
And you really do dread cancellations when you're in your season.
Right,
for sure, 100%.
Hey, we can't thank you enough for coming on with us. We appreciate it. Encourage everybody to get out for the Coaches versus Cancer event and eat some good food.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
We're wonderful. Anytime. That's what we're here for. For Charlie Pope, I'm Bill Anderson. Get out and support